Goldsboro fans. My name is Amy Coombe, and I'm here to tell you about my debut novel, Stay for a Spell. You've sent me a few questions, and so I was going to answer them. And the first question is...
Cozy fantasy has become increasingly popular. What drew you to write in this genre?
The truth is, actually, it's kind of a sad story, is that my mother was diagnosed with cancer, and I was having trouble sleeping, and so what I would do is I would get up at night and I would write, because it helped me sort of get out of my own head, and it gave me something to focus on that wasn't feeling anxious about my mom. And the good news is, very happy ending, that when this book publishes, she will officially have been cancer-free for 2 years. But that's what drew me to cozy fantasy, was that I just needed a moment where I could sort of feel like the world was safe and everything was warm and cozy, and a princess stuck in a bookstore felt like the perfect solution.
Were there any particular stories, fairy tales or books that inspired this concept?
In a way, all of them inspired the concept, but I'm sure anybody who reads even the description of the book will get a bit of The Princess Bride off of it. So shall we say a modern fantasy, modern fairy tale. And Beauty and the Beast is another favorite of mine. I've always really loved the story of someone sort of being stuck in a certain place and having to make do. And so there's quite a lot of that DNA built into this book. And obviously, just sort of, I wanted to play with the idea of princesses, and particularly Disney princesses, because it's such a robust topic of conversation amongst people who love fairy tales and animation, and also people who don't like fairy tales and animation. And I just wanted to sort of problematize the idea of being a princess a little bit, while also writing a book that's an ode to books and what it's like to just be stuck in a bookstore.
If you were cursed to stay in a bookshop like Tandy, what genre would you hope filled most of the shelves?
So if I were cursed to stay in a bookshop like Tandy, I would definitely hope that it was primarily filled with fiction. I'm not gonna lie, I would hope it was fantasy and science fiction. I love the escapism of reading, and I love, with fiction, and particularly fantasy, the fact that I just wind up in a completely different world, literally, with fantasy and science fiction. And so a bookshop that primarily serves fantasy and science fiction, maybe a bit like Goldsboro, would be fantastic.
What was the most fun scene or moment to write in the book?
Oh my gosh, I should have prepared an answer for this one. The most fun scene to write in the book, I think probably anything that involved either Bash the pirate or Driz, the first prince, because they both had really strong voices. They sort of emerged fully formed from my head when I was writing the book, and they were really easy to transfer onto the page. And they were both such fun foils for Tandy the princess that it made any scene where I had to write her corresponding with, in any way, these two characters really, really fun. So I think the fact that they both kind of irritate her, but she really likes them, but she's also really irritated by them, but she really likes them. That give and take was really fun to write, and it meant that I could inject a lot of humor into the book.
One feeling or message after finishing the book, what would you hope it is?
So one of my very favorite reviews of a book many years ago was that reading it was like a warm hug. And I hope it's not too cheesy to say that the thing for me is that I want people to walk out of this book feeling like they've just spent a really nice afternoon with a really good friend, maybe had a warm hug at the end of it.
Andy could read only one book for the rest of her curse. What would you choose for her?
Only one book? I think she'd get a lot out of Shakespeare. I'm going to give her the complete works of Shakespeare. I know that's a cop-out, but she's a fast reader, so I'm going to say the complete works of Shakespeare. I think she'd really enjoy that one.
What is your idea of a perfect cozy evening?
Oh, this is going to be a real shock given the book. I really like to light a fire, make a cup of tea, and sit down in front of the fire with the tea and a cat and read a book. It's probably send a candle going if it's not a fire, but yeah.
And last question, what is your favorite writing snack or drink?
Oh boy, I like jalapeno Cheetos. I know it's controversial and you have to be careful when you're eating them so you don't cut the pages of your book orange. But those are my favorite snack, and my corner store randomly carries them, so I'm never without my jalapeno Cheetos.